Right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody had a great day in the markets today. It was kind of an interesting day and exciting, all that type of thing. Um, Today, I kind of want to go over Zoom and how I played Zoom. I actually set up 3 trades this morning, one on AMD, one on Zoom, and one on Disney. All 3 of them were kind of the same, and I figured whichever one triggered first was the one I would take. Now, I ended up getting triggered into Zoom at 10:08 this morning. AMD would have triggered in at 10:14 and Disney would have triggered in at 10:10. And I'll quickly just show you the setup on AMD. My first setup on AMD was when this high wave candle came in, and I was looking for it to double bottom once this came in. I mean, it kind of did already double bottom, but I was looking for something. I wanted to retest, break higher, and then come lower, and it did. And in fact, I would have changed my entry from here to right here the minute that this candle came in and did not create a new low. Not only that, you're almost a tweezer bottom, but once this candle came in, then I was looking for that double bottom for it to continue higher. It didn't trigger because I canceled it before I was in the Zoom trade, and so that was option number 1. And then Disney, same thing with Disney. When this high wave candle, or sorry, hammer candle came in, bouncing kind of off the 20 EMA on the daily chart, I was looking for a double bottom. Once this candle came in, I had the trade set up, but I didn't have it entered yet. I wanted it to roll over and make a new low, preferably a higher low. In this case, it made a lower low, which was fine. But what I wanted to do, once it made a lower low, I wanted to roll over and make a higher low. So at this point, it rolled back up, made a higher low, and that's where I would have been triggered into the trade, because I would have said as soon as I had this low in here, this candle that was in here, I would have set the trade and get triggered right there. But I canceled this trade as well. I didn't do this trade because I got triggered into Zoom earlier. Now, one of the reasons that I liked Zoom even better was this setup was actually entering me above the VWAP, where AMD was below the VWAP, and same with Disney, we're all below the VWAP. The reason that I liked either AMD or Disney were because they were bouncing off of good daily levels. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even considered the trade without having a risk reward going to the VWAP of at least 1-to-1. So now back to Zoom. So Zoom, what I was looking at right off the open was that it was a gap above the prior day high, which is great. It was a retest gap. I was expecting it to retest. It came down lower, and I'm actually going to show you an indicator that I have on. I don't have it on right this second, but I'll put it on. I did have it on when I was trading this morning. But ideally, if you look at the price action from the prior day, this was the most recent, what I would consider the high, and then this would be the low. In this particular case, we gap up, we have a new high. I don't want a new low, so I don't want it coming down into this area. So anywhere in here would have been a good place for it to bounce, and that's what I was expecting it to do. Now, the indicator that I had on this morning was actually this pivot traditional indicator, and I used to use these pivots with the resistance and support levels in my futures trading all the time, and I've just recently started putting it on my day trades and seeing some interesting levels. And if you note here on the 2-minute, the retrace was actually right back down to this R1, and this is a resistance level, now support. So we're trading above this level and it's holding, which I like. And on the 5-minute, this actually turns into a nice hammer candle, but I was actually watching the 2-minute, and the minute that this high wave candle came in, that's when I entered the trade, and this is where I entered it as a break. I wanted it with a stop below here and a break above, but I wanted to be above that VWAP, so I entered the trade here. Now, this is how I played it. So from there, I had my levels already picked. I knew I wanted to take a partial right up in this area, and I ended up taking a partial at the high of day instead of this area here. The minute it broke I was feeling pretty confident about this trade, but you notice all the black candles, or sorry, white candles in a row. What I wanted, once this candle broke above this resistance level, at that point, what was going through my head was, as long as I did not get a close back into this resistance area, I was good to carry this further. That's why I didn't exit through this whole period. I just wanted to watch this price action and make sure that it stayed above that resistance level, which it did. So then my next partial that I took was at the resistance, the third resistance level. I took another 10% partial, and then we got some consolidation. Now the next thing that I was looking for was, again, a breakdown of this resistance level. So if there was a close below this resistance level, then I would have moved my stop up. To this point, I have not moved my stop. I haven't done anything with it. I've taken a partial at the high of day break. I took another partial at the resistance, the third resistance line. I then took another partial at this daily level. Now, this is a prior day high, not yesterday's high, but the prior day before that, this was the high on that. So that's why I took a 10% partial. And it continued higher. So again, I'm looking for this to break down. The next level I took was at the resistance, the fourth level resistance. I took a partial there. And then I monitored the trade. And from there, what ended up happening is, as soon as it started to kind of test this level and came back up to this level, once it came up here again and did not break through, I moved my stop up to here, and I just exited, which was supposed to be below this candle, and I ended up exiting on this 1106 candle right here. I exited the entire trade, and I got a almost 2.2 R on that trade after taking 10% partials. So overall, I think it was a good trade. Now, could have got some more out of it, but not much more. It stayed pretty consistent with that fourth resistance level. It would have been nice to have played it again, but what I ended up doing was playing AMD a little later on in the afternoon, and took another 1R trade off of that one. So all in all, I think it was a good day. That's how I played Zoom. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. If you want to know anything more about these resistance levels, or you want to play with them, I think they're really handy. I mean, you can see how well they work. And actually, I'll show you on AMD, because this was the afternoon trade that I took. On AMD, if you watch, so here is one of the resistance levels is right here. This is resistance number 1. So I was looking at the consolidation that was happening around the VWAP, and when it first when it first broke the high, you see it bounces right off that resistance level. And I was originally thinking I'll take the breakout of this area, but then I saw that it was interacting with this resistance level the way that it was. So what I decided to do was instead move my entry down into this, and I saw this 2-minute high wave candle, 2-minute hammer candle, and I decided to play it off of that. So price action was already up here. I waited for the price to come back down into here, and I wanted to make sure it did not close below the VWAP. Once this candle came in, I entered the trade right here, and I got filled at 12:02. Got filled on the trade, and I wasn't expecting this to go as high as it did. I took a partial at this R1 resistance level, and the reason I did that was, number one, if it interacted with this resistance level again like this, I wanted enough time to move my stop up and get out, because I was not prepared to give back any of the winnings I had from Zoom. So I wanted to play this pretty tight. And so it broke through, which was great, but I did take a partial there, and then I took all of it right up into this area, and I chose this area simply because after taking the 10% partial, this area was equivalent to 1R. So I took a 1R gain on this trade after a partial. But you see the resistance levels, how they worked, and I thought that was really good. And actually, the morning trade as well bounced off the pivot. So you get a pivot, and then you get resistance, and down below you get support levels. And you can see that the double bottom formed right off that pivot, which was a great indicator that this might be a good place for it to bounce. And that's how I played it. So, all right, you guys have a great